Will AI take over bookkeeping in the future? Will it become the go-to way to do bookkeeping? My name is Jake Demai, and I've been running a bookkeeping company for about 4.5 years now. I basically handle everything. I have an employee now that does like the grunt work on like 80-90% of my clients, but currently I manage 52 clients on a monthly basis. I have quarterly clients. I do cleanup jobs. I do consulting and training. I basically do everything QuickBooks and bookkeeping related. And I'm here to tell you my thoughts on AI and whether I think AI will take over bookkeeping. So I basically have I've jotted down my notes here on my thoughts. I get these questions. I get this particular question a lot. People who are looking to start their own bookkeeping company don't want to get started in something that is one day going to be replaced by bookkeeping. And I get it. Like I started my bookkeeping company 4.5 years ago before AI even came into existence. And so I didn't really have that worry. But if I was going to invest my career into something, I would be a little bit concerned about the future of, the career that I'm jumping into. So let me just get right into it, guys, and share what I'm thinking about this, because honestly, when ChatGPT came out 3 years ago, I was wildly impressed and wildly nervous, because maybe it was 2 years ago it came out, maybe not 3 years ago. But when it came out, I was shocked. I was unbelievably shocked that it could do what it, was able to do. You put any question in and boom, it gives you everything that you need. And my shock level has gone down significantly since 2 years ago. When it came out, I thought that the trajectory of AI was unbelievable. I thought within 2 years from the time ChatGPT came out that the world was going to change dramatically and that things were rapidly going to be replaced. And honestly, 2 years into AI, I'm not super impressed with the technology. Now, do I think the technology will get there one day for bookkeeping? I really think it will. But I think we're like 10 to 15 years away from the technology actually being there for bookkeeping. And I think even when the technology does come, even when the technology is available, number one, it's going to be expensive. It's just going to be expensive. And number two, I've learned that in the business world, and especially with the older generation, with the baby boomers, and even my generation, when we get used to something, it's hard to switch. It's hard to switch trust from a human to a robot. I don't think my generation, or even the generation before me, is going to be able to make that leap from trusting robots over humans. I don't know. I've learned that, especially with the baby boomers, they struggle with switching and making that change. I see that switch happening with QuickBooks Desktop to QuickBooks Online. QuickBooks Online's been around for 20 years, but people still are struggling to make that switch. They still want to stick with what's comfortable, even though it's harder. I have some people that come to me that enter transactions manually. It takes them probably 5 times the amount of time that it would take me or somebody using QuickBooks Online, but they still stick with QuickBooks Desktop. It blows my mind. I don't understand it, but the same thing will happen with AI. People will have a hard time accepting the new technology. They will have a hard time trusting the technology. And so, in my opinion, I think we're 30 to 40 years away from AI completely replacing bookkeeping altogether. And I think what people don't understand about bookkeeping is, it does seem simple on paper. Like when I talk about bookkeeping, it sounds like I'm just adding transactions and reconciling the bank, okay? And that is like the bulk of what I'm doing, but there's so much more nuance to it. There are so many transactions where I have to use my judgment to determine whether it's a personal payment or not, whether it was income or an investment from, the owner, or whether, a check image written out to Joe Schmo was for contract labor or for, repairs and maintenance. Like there's just a lot of nuance to bookkeeping. And there's a lot of moving parts too, because there's all of these different apps that business owners use. You have Jobber, you have Square, you have Toast, you have, payroll companies, you've got Stripe. There's just all of these different integrations that come into QuickBooks that are challenging. And I really think AI will solve some of the more complicated integrations. But the reality is not every bank is going to be connected with AI. Not every app is going to be connected. Not every payroll is going to be connected. And so it's going to be up to the business owner to determine whether it's going to be AI, whether they're going to have software that's going to work with AI or not. I think if AI is going to work in the future, it's only going to work for the people that are disciplined and can create processes and systems built around AI from the very beginning. That means working with banks that use AI that integrates with QuickBooks. That means using apps that integrate with QuickBooks perfectly. But the problem is, like, everyone has their preference on what app to use for, invoicing or bill paying or payroll. And I just think it's going to be, I just think it's a lot more complicated than people realize. There's loans that have to be tied out. There are undeposited funds and, liabilities and assets, and the whole balance sheet. Honestly, it's going to take a long time for AI to be able to perfectly map that out. And I'm not just saying that. I'm not anti-AI. I'm not just saying that. I really want AI to work out. I just know that bookkeeping is, it's actually complicated. It's not just a formula. If it was just a formula, AI would have replaced it already. But it's so much more than a math equation. There's a lot of human judgment that's needed for bookkeeping. And I've been doing bookkeeping for a long time. Like, I would know. It's even very hard to outsource. Maybe the actual work I can outsource, but there's a lot of, in between work. I respond to emails. I answer phone calls. I manage workflows and deadlines, and I'm answering questions about like their financials, and I'm providing like real world advice with my personality. And I think the reality of business in general is that people want to hire people that they can trust. And so, in my opinion, the bookkeeping world is going to be run by the people that are the most trustworthy. Because bookkeeping is extremely, it's extremely private. There's a lot of information, personal information that can be seen. I access bank information and payroll information. I see their finances, and so when somebody hires somebody for bookkeeping, like, they want to know that their information is secure. And so I think that's really important to a lot of people. So another thing too is that people hire bookkeepers for peace of mind. They want to know that bookkeeping is taken care of. Like when they hire a bookkeeper, they don't want to have to worry about it. They want somebody to tell them what to do and how to do it. They want to receive the reports automatically, and they want to be able to call somebody, like a real person, to be able to explain the numbers and to be able to explain the things that don't make sense to them. I don't know if you've ever, I'm sure you have, where you call that 1-800 number, or you call the bank, or you call that big corporation, and you get stuck with a robot. And all you do is you just say, is you ask for a representative. I've been on those calls before where I'm just like, speak to representative, speak to representative, speak to representative, because I just want to talk to a real person. I don't want to talk to a robot. And it hasn't gotten any better. And I think the same thing is true with bookkeeping. And the last thing I'll say on this too is, if you're an employee and you're nervous about AI, I think that those feelings are totally valid. AI will replace the employee before it replaces the employer. And so if you're an employee, specifically an accountant, then I think you need to start mapping out your plan to be self-employed. You might not be super confident in yourself, and maybe you need to build up your skills a little bit more. But now is the time to start planning out your exit from the company that you work for. It's time for you to stop building somebody else's asset. It's time for you to, prepare for that moment 10 to 15 years from now when AI does start to take over, because you are replaceable, and eventually a robot will replace you. But what a robot won't replace is that human interaction, that human touch. And so if you can be at the forefront of that human touch, if you can be the one managing the relationships, if you can be the one who's responding to emails, managing the workflows, then I think you're okay. I don't think you have anything to worry about. So I say all that, guys, and I say all that because I really believe it's going to be a long time before QuickBooks or ChatGPT comes up with a solution for bookkeeping that's going to apply to everybody. Are there going to be some situations, some really simple businesses that will use AI successfully? Yes, 100%. There are really simple businesses that exist, but I would say 90% of the businesses I work with are not simple, that require that human touch. And so I think we're good, guys. I think we're good. And I don't think it's something that we need to worry. If you have any questions about this, I know I kind of breezed through it. I kind of rambled about some of my thoughts. But if you ever want to talk to me in person, I'm going to put a link in the description for a one-on-one consultation that I'm now doing for anybody who is interested in speaking with me about their personal situation. Maybe you want to start a bookkeeping company and you don't know where to start. Or maybe you already have a bookkeeping company, but you want to you learn from somebody that is maybe a little bit ahead of you, or somebody that has thought through some of the things like pricing and workflows and some of those processes that maybe you haven't figured out altogether. So feel free to use that link to book a time. I'm happy to chat with people. I have time this month specifically. I won't have as much time in January and February. So if you're looking to do that, please book a time soon. That's it, guys. I appreciate it, and I'll talk to you next time.